All right, I'm making the video because I want to explain something. I've been in a scenario where I will always use this statement: if I have to be your mother as a man, I'd rather be alone. And I've had so many people reach out to me. I've had so many talk to me like, so you're okay ending up alone than having a man. I said no, those are two different things. Those are two different things. There's a man who wants to be a husband and a father. I want that man. I don't want a man who is looking for a second mother. And I've had a lot of people reach out to me and be like, what do you mean by that? All right, I want you to listen to this record I'm about to play.
She'd rather be alone than have to carry a man, too. She doesn't want to be the strong one anymore. She needs you to finally be strong. She's been the provider, the protector, and the planner for years. A high-value woman who's been independent for too long will test your ability to lead without being asked. Yeah. If you fold under pressure, she'll lose respect and pull away. She doesn't need you to be perfect. She needs you to be consistent, decisive, and strong enough to carry the weight. Because she's exhausted from carrying it all alone. Real leadership isn't loud or controlling. It's showing up so consistently that she never has to wonder if she's alone. That's the kind of man who finally gets to see her fully surrender. Her strength is beautiful, but it was born out of necessity, not choice. She wants to finally put the armor down and feel safe with you. She needs a man who can outman her because she's exhausted from always being the big dog. If you can't make plans and expect her to figure everything out, you aren't the man for her. If you can't provide emotional security, you aren't the man for her. If you can't provide financial stability, you aren't the man for her. If she can't rely on you when life gets heavy, you aren't the man for her. She's been holding it down on her own for too long. Yeah. She's tired of carrying everything. She'd rather be alone than have to carry a man, too. She doesn't want to be the strong one anymore. She needs you to finally be strong. She's been the provider, the protector, and the planner for years. A high-value woman who's been independent for too long will test your ability to lead without being asked. Yeah. If you fold under pressure, she'll lose respect and pull away. She doesn't need you to be perfect. She needs you to be consistent, decisive, and strong enough to carry the weight. Because she's exhausted from carrying it all alone. Real leadership isn't loud or controlling. It's showing up so consistently that she never has to wonder if she's alone. That's the kind of man who finally gets to see her fully surrender. Her strength is beautiful, but it was born out of necessity, not choice. She wants to finally put the armor down and feel safe with you. She needs a man who can outman.
Dermatologist, I look at it. I hope you heard that. Now, let me explain how I do understand that listening and comprehension are two different things. Sorry, I think I'm coming up with a cold, but I'm fighting it. This is my ginger tea. This works for me. But the reason why I'm saying that listening and comprehension is a different thing, I'm not calling you dumb. I'm not listening to me. It's the same thing for me and a lot of people out there. What you hear is different from what your brain will interpret. Our brain interpret based on emotions, environment, past history. All right, and most cases, a lot of cases, what our brain tells us that we are hearing is different from what we're actually hearing. So let me explain detailing on that, because I do have find myself in situations that where I say something like that and they go, what do you mean by that? Let me tell you. Forget about the high value woman part. Every woman is a high value woman. It just depends on how you carry yourself, how you work on yourself. All right. So me, as long as you're a woman, you have the gift of bringing forth another human being in this life, which is for all women. You're a high value woman. Back to what I was saying. So back to what I'm trying to explain. Most hyper independent women were parentified. Not all, most. A lot of parentified children, which is mostly the first daughters, and there are other rare cases where you have the second daughter, third daughter, who among the daughters that was parentified, when they grew up, most cases we end up being very hyper independent. Hyper independent. Now, what is the negative part of that? We have little tolerance for bullshit, especially when it's coming from a man. A lot of people will not understand it, except you are a first daughter, you're friends with a first daughter, or you're dating or married to a first daughter, or a hyper-independent woman. A parentified child is a child that had to become, who doesn't have a childhood. As a child that the childhood was stolen from them, so they had to start acting as the parent, as a substitute parent in the household from a very young age. Some were taught, some they had to grow into it because either the parents died. There are cases where they were taught, there are cases that they were told that, oh, you're the oldest, so you have to teach them this, teach them that. You're basically stealing. All right. So a lot of daughters who were parentified, they grew up to be very hyper independent. Most of those daughters, we have a very short tolerance for bullshit for men. A man who has to be mothered, we can't stand that. We're going to lose our mind. Most cases will walk away. This is because our mind, our body and soul is exhausted because we're already parentified from childhood. We can't keep doing that. We are tired. We're exhausted, and that's also the reason why most of us grow up not wanting children, because we were the substitute children. I mean, substitute parents for our siblings growing up, and we didn't know what we were doing, but we know we had to stop them from crying. We had to feed them. We had to bathe them. We have to clothe them. Now, when we are older, they're telling us that that's the way of a woman. That's your path. You have to have children. We don't want it. Because the experience we had being the substitute parents, even till now, some of us are still the substitute parent, damaged us. We don't want it. You can keep your stuff to yourself. We don't want it. And you see the African community losing your mind. Oh, you're the first daughter. How come you don't want children? You're a daughter, an African daughter. How come you don't want children? Oh, yes, we don't want children. Some of us, not all, because we were parentified. The experience was horrible. We don't want to go through it again. Back to what I'm saying. Then that guy also said in the video that hyper-independent women, most cases we're looking for a man who knows what to do, who knows what. Yes, we don't want to have to tell you. Of course, we know there are cases we'll have to tell you, but we want you to take the initiative. We're not going to give you the opportunity. We're not going to give you, in most cases, we don't provide opportunity for you to be a man. We expect you to seize it. We expect you to be like, oh, babe, to be proactive, to be like, oh, babe, don't bother about your car today, I'll clean it. And when you're saying that, we'll need a date and time. Because most of us are very structured, because we had to be that way in order to be better substitute parents. And very hyper-independent people are very structured. We need a date at a time. And if you fail us, in most cases, one time, we lose faith in you, we lose interest in you. Like, even if it would take for you to keep begging us to have another opportunity. Because I know for example, there's a guy who I was talking to, and one day I told him that I think the tires of my car is like, needs air, and I told him. He said he was going to come on so day. He gave me day and a time. He ghosted me. He did not come. Then the next day he called me. When he called me, I picked it up, and at least I said, so you think you played me? The next day he said, well, why didn't you put air in your car? You still in your basically, why didn't you fill up the tire? You're still waiting for me. So basically, he was like, why didn't you fill up your car? You're still waiting for me. And I explained to him that I told you before how it's very important to me how a man's word carries weight. It holds water. You gave me your word. I waited on you to fulfill your word. You ghosted me. I tried to reach you. You won't pick. You directed my call to voice me. You're calling me today to ask me why I didn't fill up my car. I was like, don't you have something better to do? He was like, yeah, I do. And I was like, yeah, I think you should do that. He said, all right, I'm going to call you later to check up on you. I didn't say anything. And then the call blocked him. You can... You cannot give me a word and go against it with no heads up. You should have a goddamn good reason why you're doing that. The thing in this life is that too many men, too many African men in particular, don't believe in being provider men. They don't believe in being provider men. They want to do bullshit and they don't want to face the consequences of bullshit. And too many African women have been taught to let men do bullshit and not face the consequences. That's why most of the men are getting away with it. That's not the first man I've had to block. The first African man I've had to block because of that. Their words don't carry water anymore. And like I said, I would rather end up alone than being your mother. I would rather end up alone than be with a man that had to remind to do something for me. If you tell me you're going to do something, I need you to do it. I'm not going to keep having to remind you. You know, in so many cases I've had men tell me, Cherry, you're too strict, relax. Cherry, you're too... No. You like acting as an asshole and you don't want to face the consequences of when a man behaves like an asshole. That will not slide with me. It won't. If you want to be with a hyper-independent woman or a first daughter or a parentified daughter, you need to come straight. You need to come straight. Because most of us have made up our mind that we would rather be alone than have to parentify the man. Had to parent a man. Like us being your parent. Most of us have come to the conclusion that we would rather be alone than be a parent to a husband. We can't do that. That's not the role I'm playing in your life. I cannot play that role in your life. When I said I wanted to be with you, I didn't sign up to be your parent. I didn't. I'm sorry. Get your shit together. Act like an adult is supposed to. Then we can talk about that. Another thing is that a lot of women are okay giving a man multiple chances. Meanwhile, he already messed up the first time. What do you think will change? See, one thing I will tell you as a hyper-independent woman or a parentified woman is that, or a first daughter, is that please, when you're talking with a man, make sure you have your deal breakers. And if a man does something that's one of your deal breakers, it's okay to let him go and don't feel guilty about it. Like I said, he's an adult. He knows what he's doing or what he was doing. We live in a world where a lot of men, especially African men, a lot of them want to do bullshit and get away with it. And when an African woman calls them out on it, suddenly you're no wife material. Nobody wants to marry you. Who told you that marriage was Who told you that marriage was an accomplishment? The last I checked, it wasn't. It wasn't. The last time I checked, it wasn't. You're allowed to go through life alone. You're allowed to have a beautiful single life. Set yourself up for old age and retirement. The reason why a lot of African men think that they are doing you a favor if they marry you is because they were taught wrongly growing up that, oh, a woman's purpose is to get married and have kids. That's not my purpose. No. In most cases, the people who desire children a lot are actually the men, not women. That's the truth. That's the truth. But I will tell you this as any African man out there, that you're talking to a first daughter, you're talking to a hyper independent woman, or you're dealing with a parentified daughter, come straight and come strong. When I talk about the fact that women like us like masculine men, I'm not talking about the fact that you come and be yelling. That's not masculinity. That's you being an abuser. We're talking about the fact that you know your role. You don't need us to remind you of your role. You do your role. You are there for us. And if you give us your word, you stick to it. You don't need us to run after you to do what you told us you're going to do. No. If you said you're going to do something, you stick to it and you do it. I hope this helps you. I hope this helps someone out there, because at this point in time, excuse, I'm so tired of trying to explain this situation over and over. I hope you understand what I mean. And I'm going to make more videos on this so that more parentified daughters, first daughters, and hyper-independent women can be understood by men out there who are interested in them. But for now, bye, ciao, see you in the next video.